Good morning and welcome. We're going to get started. Mr. Meyer, would you lead us in the pledge?
Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. We welcome those who are here for purposes of addressing the board at the proper time and in the order of their request. For those who have not already submitted a request, we have provided forms in the back of the room and also have additional copies here in the front at the Assistant Secretary's position. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please fill out a form indicating your name and the agenda item that you wish to address. You may also make a request to give testimony on an item not listed for discussion today. However, full discussion on any items not listed on the agenda will have to be delayed until such time as the item can be publicly posted in advance as a regular agenda item. If you wish to ask questions, please address them to the chair and not to individual members of the board or to the staff. We are at public testimony on an item not listed on the agenda, and I have a speaker this morning. Mr.
President, it is on the agenda.
It's on the agenda? Okay. Not listed for discussion. Listed.
Agenda items first, yes. You were correct.
Okay.
I'm ready, Phil.
It's Monday, Tuesday. Tyler Curley?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Tyler Curley. I'm the legislative director for Senator Lena Gonzalez, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. And first of all, say hello, and thank you so much for all the great work that you do. I'm here in particular to just speak in support for the dual immersion item, but also after looking at the workshop agenda, I want to say how exciting all of these topics are. First, I think in our new role in the Senate, the State Senate District, we recognize even more now how important and how amazing LBUSD is, and all the great work that you're already doing in not just Long Beach, but for the surrounding communities, and as serving especially as a model school board and district throughout the nation. So we want to commend you for that from the Senator's office, from myself. And we also, just looking at the workshop agenda, I think each of these items are so critical to advancing the district and making sure that Long Beach is still at the top throughout the nation on all of these issues. And in particular, I think for the dual immersion item, again, I might have to leave a little early, so that's why I wanted to speak now. But, I think it's amazing all the work that's already being done to provide dual language and heritage language programs throughout the district. But in particular, knowing that we have the largest Cambodian population outside of Southeast Asia, I just wanted to speak in support of trying to figure out ways that we can expand and double down our efforts and support for Khmer language immersion programs, in addition to what's already being done and knowing what's already being done for Spanish language immersion. And so, I'm here today to say thank you, not only for all the work that you're doing, but also to, hope that you can see us as a partner in the state legislature. I know we have a representative from Assemblymember O'Donnell's office. They're very strong on education. We are as well, and we'll work hand in hand with you all and the board and the district and the Assembly Member's office, anybody that wants to help support what Long Beach Unified is doing. And, I hope you can rely on us, anything you need from us from the state legislature to make this happen and support more funding and efforts like this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tyler. I do have three other speakers who will speak on this item when it comes up during the presentation on the dual immersion part. With that, we'll move to our first presentation, Head Start.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So today, I'm going to be sharing with you the annual report for the Head Start program. And it's one of the requirements that Head Start has, that at least annually we provide a report to the public about these 9 indicators, which include the number of funds that we were awarded, how we used them, the number of children that we served, the results of any reviews or audits that we've had, the percentage of enrolled children that received medical, dental exams, any parent involvement activities, and our efforts to prepare children for kindergarten. So I'll be sharing that. So last year, so this is for the 2018-2019 school year. And last year, we received funding from both Head Start and Early Head Start, which come in as one grant, but they're considered different programs. Head Start serves children 3 to 5, and Early Head Start is for prenatal to 3 years old. Typically, we have 2 grants, our base grant and our training and technical assistance grant for both. Last year, we had a little bit of an unusual year. We also carried over funding from previous years for projects, construction projects that were not completed in 17-18, and we also carried money over from a grant that we received for expanding the duration of our school day. So total for Head Start was $19,004,266, and Early Head Start was $7,094,943. And as far as our expenditures, I know this is really small, and it's even smaller on your PowerPoint. But for expenditures, the second column reflects our budgeted amounts, and the third column reflects our actual expenditures, and the last one is the difference. So in total, we did give back $1,434,558. The majority of the savings or unspent funds were in the personnel and fringe benefits, and that was because we budgeted for the raises for our CACA employees, and those were not awarded in that school year.
Claudia, you said you gave back funds?
Yes. So in Head Start, we don't get to keep money that we don't use. We can't save it, we can't put it in a reserve. If we don't use it, we lose it. And because last year was our 5th year in a 5-year grant, we could not roll it over.
So the federal government does not allow you to carry over certain funds, as well as you cannot earn interest on federal dollars. So every year, the business department has to calculate what interest we earned on federal dollars, and we have to submit that back to the federal government.
There's no way we can
That's non-negotiable.
So Claudia, since the budget for personnel was included last year and not used, did we project for this coming year's budget and budget that additional, now that that has gone through into this year's?
We did that with our recompetition application. We included that in there.
Okay, great.
Okay, so for enrollment and health services, we currently are on an under-enrollment plan. And we were under-enrolled last January. And that was because we were opening 3 new sites at Hudson, Bethune, and Jordan Plus. And so they used to give Head Start programs 18 months to be fully operational. But with this administration, they aren't giving us that. So any time that we are under-enrolled for 4 or more months, then we're placed on an enrollment, sort of a watch list, and then we're on under-enrollment plan for a year. So we were able to open Hudson in January of this year, Bethune in February, and Jordan Plus we opened in December. We've been fully enrolled since February 2019. We were fully enrolled at the end of the school year. And this year, we do have 2 new sites. They're childcare partners. It's Children Today and Child Lane, formerly known as Comprehensive Child Development. They are currently in startup. They will begin services in January, and we are anticipating that they will be full by January 2020. All other of our sites are fully enrolled.
Claudia, I do recall the earlier report when you talked about the survey of need.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that survey of need, how your services were being calculated based on that.
Right.
So, and that's why I'm just having some problems with having to give money back as a result of that survey.
Well, if all of the services and all of the classrooms were open and negotiations would have gone as planned within the timelines, then we would have spent the
Okay.
money. But because there was some delay with the negotiations and the agreements with CSCA, we were holding that money, but we were unable to use it for anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can't move funding between line items. Anything over 250,000, we have to get approval, and we just didn't know where we were going with negotiations, so we just left that in case they went through, and then we had to pay for them, so we could not repurpose them.
Okay.
Okay, so here are our enrollment information, and you do have a larger version of this document. Looks like this. And what this shows is the performance of our program, and so that's under grant. And it compares it to the state and the national averages and performance to other grantees, Head Start and early Head Start grantees in the state and in the nation. So the first item here talks about the number of children that were enrolled for multiple years or enrolled less than 45 days. And the number of children and pregnant women who left the program and didn't re-enroll. So this is basically our turnover. And we are performing relatively at the same rate, a little bit lower than the state, but higher than the national averages in these areas. The next item, we'll talk about the health services. And so I won't go through all of this in detail, but generally, we will see the first one talks about health insurance. And so this is health insurance at the beginning of the year. So when children and families were enrolled with us, how many of them have health insurance? And for us, we were at 97.9% when they started, which is lower than the state, but higher than the national average. And then I'll take you down to just below to the next shaded area, percentage of children with health insurance at the end of the school year. We're at 95.4%, which is lower than where we started. And at, again, we are lower than both the state and national averages there. However, for the number of kids with immunizations, the kids started higher because all of the kids have to have immunizations. So we're higher than both the state and national averages. And at the end of the year, we're at 98%. And we're higher than the national average, but lower than the state. And part of that is because as children are transitioning into kindergarten, they may not be due quite yet for immunizations. So parents wait until it's their annual physical time to get that so it counts for kindergarten. These next items, we'll talk about the number of children that we have enrolled that have an IEP or have a disability. And we are at 12%, which is a little lower than both the state and the national average. The requirement is that we serve at least 10% of children that have a disability or have a diagnosed IEP. And then as far as the percentage of children that are up to date on their schedule of preventative health care, we're 93.7%, which is higher than both the state and national averages. And I'll take you to the first one, the number of preschool children that receive special education or related services for one of the primary disabilities. So sometimes kids have an IEP or a disability, but they aren't receiving special education services. All of the children that were enrolled in Head Start were receiving special education services if they had an IEP. Okay. And next are the information for our early Head Start program, which are our babies. And so for them, our enrollment numbers, the number of kids that were enrolled for multiple years is 37.4%, which is lower than the state and national averages. And in early Head Start, kids can be enrolled before they're born, prenatally, and they can be enrolled all the way to 3 years old. It's a little bit different than the Head Start program. Okay. Next are the health services. So for early Head Start, the number of children who had health insurance was 93.9% at the beginning of the year and 93.2% at the end of the year. And the number of children with immunizations that were all up to date was 92.2% at the beginning of the year and 98.3% at the end of the year. And that is higher for both the state and national averages. And the reason we do have less kids that have immunizations in early Head Start is because we do have a home-based program. So we don't have the same requirements for the children having the same immunization. Sometimes parents want to wait a little bit, or they start on a different schedule because they don't like to give them a lot of immunizations all at the same time. And they're able to wait a little longer if they are in a home-based program. Okay. And the next item is about the number of children that have an IFSP. So an IFSP is Individual Family Service Plan, and this is for infants and toddlers that have a disability. And for early Head Start, we had 24.1% of our babies that had an IFSP. That is significantly higher than both the state and national averages. The next item we have to cover are the results of any reviews we've had, and we didn't have any reviews last year by the federal government. The only kind of audit or review that we went through was the recompetition application, which we received all of the funding that we originally had. We do have a federal review scheduled the week of January 13th through January 17th this year, and it is what they call a Focus Area 1. And it's an off-site review. So the majority of the review is conducted via telephone interviews and document reviews. And so for that review, I will be reaching out to the board for your participation. We also have to report on parent engagement activities and family services. And so we do have a very active policy council, which is made up of representatives and alternates from all of the 24 school sites where we have Head Start and early Head Start. We have parent committees, which are committees that function within those 24 sites. We also offer monthly parent meetings and workshops on various topics. We have an annual health fair for parents, and we have ongoing parenting classes that we offer at each of the school sites. So as far as the performance indicators for family services, The percentage of families who received at least one of the family services, for us, it was 97.8%. Again, that's significantly higher than the state and the national average. And the majority of that is because we are able to provide the parenting classes right on site. We did have families experiencing homelessness. And so last year we had five in early Head Start and 40 in Head Start. And of those in early Head Start, they all received services or housing. And in Head Start, we had 10 of them received permanent housing or got permanent housing. I think I went through this already. Okay, so for school readiness, so first and foremost, we are a school readiness program. And so we look at various indicators to tell us how we're doing in meeting school readiness goals. We look at the desired results developmental profile, which is the child's assessment that we use 3 times a year. We use the classroom assessment scoring system, which measures the effectiveness of the classroom interactions and teaching. And the early childhood environmental rating scale looks at the quality of the environment in the classroom. And there's a similar one for infant and toddler environments. And then we are part of the Quality Start Los Angeles, which is a rating that helps parents and other interested parties a ranking of our sites. So we get like a star from 1 to 5, and that tells you the quality of our school sites. So for approaches to learning, which is one of the elements of the DRDP, we're just going to look at, well, we can look at all of them, but the 0 to 2-year-olds are in yellow, the 3-year-olds are in green, and the 4 and 5-year-olds are in the blue. And we do the assessment 3 times a year. So if you look at the last column, that tells you the percentage in the spring, the percentage of students who met the target goal, which was 90% of them were going to be at a rating that is the target for their age group. So for in spring, we had 47% of the 0 to 2-year-olds that met the goal. For the 3-year-olds, we had between 71 and 90% in the different indicators. And for the preschool, we were at between 79% and 93% of the students that had met the goal. So that was approaches to learning. We have social emotional development that we also look at. And so for the preschool age children, 91% of them were meeting that goal. We also look at language and literacy. And you'll see that we were in the 80s range of the students who met the language and literacy goals for preschool. And where you see dashes, those indicators are dashed out because they're not appropriate for that age group. For English language development, these are students that come in speaking a language other than English, so we have to measure their progress towards learning English as well as progress in developing their home language. And so this is the progress towards learning English. And by the end of the year, the 4 and 5-year-olds, 41% were meeting the language targets. For cognition, math, and science, we had 85% of the 4 and 5-year-olds meeting those targets. And physical development, 91% were meeting those targets. And I'm sharing with you the preschool data because this is our report to help kids meet school readiness goals. And so the 4 and 5-year-olds are the ones that are going to kindergarten. Active and physical play between 95% and 89%. And this is because some of the skills that we're looking at are maturational, so they happen because they're just getting older. So a 4-year-old is going to learn how to run and hop, whether I teach them how to do that or not. It's just part of them getting older, which is a little bit different than the language literacy and the cognitive skills. As far as the class data, so that's the quality of the classroom interactions and effectiveness of teaching. So these are the domains that we look at: positive climate, negative climate, teacher sensitivity, regard for student perspectives, behavior management, productivity, and instructional learning formats, concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling. So in Head Start, there's a lot of different things that trigger a recompetition. One of them is having a deficiency in a review. The other one is scoring in the lower 10% of the class scores. So here you have the list of what's on the class score. So we're going to be looking at the mean nationally, because that's our targets. We always want to be above the national average. Ooh. So there is a little black dotted line at the top of those bars that depicts the national averages. And so our Head Start programs were either at or above most of the indicators. We were below in 3 indicators. I believe it was language modeling, productivity, and behavior management. That we were a little lower. Yes. That was at the beginning. We do this twice a year. In the spring, we were still below, we were at the national average for behavior management, but still slightly below productivity. We do this also for our toddler classes. But for them, there is no national average. When the reviewers come, they don't look at class for infants and toddlers. So we're just looking at ourselves. And this is where we scored. So the optimal is a 7. The second indicator, the negative climate, we don't want that to be high. We want that to be low, so a low negative climate. So this was our baseline data at the beginning of the school year. In the spring, we did the class again, and we had some variation, so we did go down in some of the indicators and increased in others. So this helps us with determining the kinds of support and professional development that we provide to teaching staff. And then we call it the ECHRS for short because it's such a long name. It looks at the environment. And these are all of our sites, and this is where we were during the second observation. We do this twice also. So a 5 is the score that is good, right? We always want 6s and 7s. Anything lower than a 4, we need to pay some serious attention to our environment. So we were all above the 4s. The majority of our sites were at a 5 or higher. And then some sites scored a lot higher. Last year, we only had 4 locations that had infant toddler center base. So this is the results for our center base early Head Start. We have adult school, Educare, Job Corps, and the average. Sorry, we had 3. And this is the environment again, so Educare is a new school. They are the highest, but also Job Corps is in a high 6, so, and adult school is at a 5. And then we have the qualities of the elements of quality for the quality rating system. And so we always want to have 5s, which is mastering quality. We also have A 4 is pretty good too, exceeding quality, and achieving quality is you met the minimum standards, you're doing a good job, but we always want to do better than that. And these scores are good for 2 years. So the first set of classrooms were assessed in 2017, and the majority of our schools were at a 4 rating. We did have 3 that were at a 5, Oropesa, Plymouth, and Job Corps. Last year, these were up for reevaluation, and 4 of our locations received 4-star ratings: Carmelitos, Edison, Signal Hill, and Whittier, and we got 5-star ratings for Garfield and Webster. So, Dr. Williams, you were talking about our community assessment and what it says of where we need to have services. So one of the things that we're doing now is getting ready for a refunding application to submit that in March for the 2021 school year. And so we have to do a update to the community assessment. Our big 5-year assessment was done last year. And this year we've done surveys and looked at our community data again. And so we still see that there is unmet need in 90712, 90713, 90704. Those are the new zip codes that we are proposing to add, which is the portions of Lakewood that LBUSD serves and Catalina. We did request to add those to our service area to align with what's already the school district service area. We requested that earlier this month. And so we are noticing that there's still a very, very big need for services for infants and toddlers in all of the zip codes that we serve. Overall, only 3% of the eligible families are being served with infant and toddler services. So anytime we can expand and there's funding available, we would try to expand for early Head Start. There's also a need for preschool in some service areas, and that includes 90804, 90813, 90712, and 90714, which all of those, well, there's Long Beach is 90804, 9013. And then 9012, it's Lakewood. And 90704 is Catalina, where there's only, I believe, one preschool, a city-run preschool. Yep. So based on the needs that we determined in the community assessment, our enrollment criteria for 2020, 2021 continues to give priority to income-eligible families. We don't have to enroll all of our funded enrollment with income-eligible families. We could enroll over-income families. However, they have to meet one of these criteria, and it's all on a point system. So we give points to English learners, children that have been adopted or are in the foster care system or are experiencing homelessness. So that enrollment starts in February for 2020-21.
Excellent presentation, Claudia. Question, how many of your students in Head Start transition into our district as first graders from your program? Do we have numbers on that?
Yes, we do. So most of them transition as in kindergarten, and it's approximately 75% of the 4-year-olds will go into our kindergarten classrooms or TK.
I asked that question because of our declining enrollment and the fact that we still have a way to move kids from that program into our
Yes, so the majority of our classrooms are on elementary school campuses. I believe only the ones that are off campus, those are only early Head Start centers. So we've tried to align the preschool classrooms to be right on the elementary school campuses so that the kids can transition right into the kindergarten classes.
Yeah, that's very powerful stuff. It's good stuff.
May I ask, what are the major problems, 1 or 2, or challenges that you face that the board might be able to help you with?
Well, one of the things that we do have to do is increase the number of hours of service. So they want Head Start programs to provide full-day services. And we did get some funding for that. However, we don't have enough classrooms to be able to convert our AM, PM. So for example, we have a morning and afternoon class sharing a classroom. So unless we can get more classrooms in the areas of need, then we're not able to expand to those full-day preschool classes.
So classroom space would be one challenge.
Classroom space, yes. And it's not just classroom space. Our classrooms have to have restrooms. They have to have restrooms in or nearby, and we have to have a space for playground. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Claudia, if I could, so you said only 75% of the kids matriculate from our Head Start program to our kindergarten programs? Do we know where the other 25%?
No, those are the ones that are 3, so they stay a second year, so annually.
Okay.
Yeah. We do have a handful of kids, probably not even 10, that live in Long Beach, but attend, I believe it's Paramount School District. So I don't know if there's a zip code that belongs to them, but we do have very few that.
Part of Long Beach in the north is Paramount Unified. So those students could come to our Head Start, but they are Paramount students. They could come to us if they wanted to do an IDP, which several do. We have a couple hundred students every year that come to us from Paramount Unified. So
I guess that's something we don't talk about too much.
we have in Long Beach, 95% of Long Beach is in the city of, is in the district, Long Beach Unified. But there is a section of Long Beach that's in Paramount. There is a section of Long Beach that's in ABC. So off of Norwalk Boulevard, there's a section of homes there that are in District 5, not for your District 5, but for the Councilmanic District 5. And there's around 300 homes there that they are part of the ABC Unified School District. So.
Interesting.
We need to do some boundary changes, don't we?
Well, no, you don't want to do that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Claudia.
Claudia.
Thank you very much.